California. I am here to take the very first drive of this. This is the all-electric Chevrolet Blazer EV. You might have heard that Chevrolet is on a mission to build electric cars for everyone. And the Blazer EV is the second in the car lineup, but actually it is the fourth, fifth, sixth overall that General Motors has introduced. This is a big one for Chevrolet. Why is that? Well, first, of course, it's all electric. Second, it is a classic legendary nameplate, the Blazer. We remember the Blazer as the SUV that we drove around in. Our parents toted us out to the lake and towed the boat. You remember the Blazer as a great first car to have. It was really fun to drive. And now, for the next generation of Blazer drivers, there is an electric version that still, even though it's electric, retains the heart of Chevrolet. It is sporty and it's fun. The Blazer EV definitely incorporates a lot of really classic modern Chevrolet design. So you'll see really sleek headlights here, a nice clean gloss panel there on the front. We're driving the RS edition, which is the sporty edition for now. I will share more on that because there is news. And then you see some of the classic design language that you might expect for a sports car. So this indication that maybe there was an air vent there. There's actually not an air vent. This is the charge panel, which just opens down and out of the way. And then I can tap this to close it. And then you'll see these low gloss panels here, really beautiful electric wheels, body colored door handles here. And then around the back, you will see these really beautiful Blazer taillights. They are sort of the modern heritage language of Chevrolet right now. So you'll notice similar looking taillights on the Tahoe, the Suburban, and some of the other Chevrolet models out there. And then you'll notice the Blazer EV logo here. So notice those three bars. That is sort of the signal, not only that this is electric, but that it uses General Motors Ultium technology, which is a full span of batteries underneath the car. And there we see it's all-wheel drive and RS. So you'll notice that, woo, how about that? So that is hands-free opening, and my key is right here. It's in my pocket. All I have to do is stand behind the Blazer EV and voila, it opens. So nothing new or novel there. A lot of cars have it. You can actually turn that on or off in the driver information screen in the multimedia system. But I also want to show you this, and that is how much cargo space there is. So I do like that this opening here is set pretty far back, so I can scoot pretty far back before I hit my head. I'm not going to be able to get my head all the way in here because of the slope of the roof, but I can sit pretty far back without hitting my head on the frame of the cargo area. I can also set the height of this opening, again on the multimedia system, to open as high or lower if I would like. So it's a nice thing to be able to adjust that. That used to be a dial, either in the front, on the front door, or it was sometimes it was here. Now it's a setting on the multimedia system. So I want you to notice some things. First of all, these seats will go all the way down. They will fold pretty flat, not completely flat. And then there is a little cargo space under here. So I'll show you that. There's a nice little cargo bay here. There also is a charge cord in here, and this is great because it is a level 1 or level 2. Level 1 is just a standard household outlet. Level 2 is basically the 240 volt. It's similar to a clothes dryer outlet. And if you have that, that is the fastest, most efficient, and safest way to charge your electric car. So it's nice that Chevrolet included that. It's standard equipment that comes with the Blazer EV. This is the Ultium charge cord. Chevrolet includes this with the purchase. So you get the Ultium converter here, but then you also have, this is the 240 volt level 2 charger, and this is the 110 volt level 1 charger. So if you only need this in your house, you don't have a clothes dryer type of outlet, 240 outlet, you can actually use this, and you just plug whichever one into the Ultium adapter to charge your car. I really like this. This is something that you would pay several $100s for if you were to buy it, say, on Amazon. So, you know, to buy an off-brand. So it's really nice detail that Chevrolet decided to include this with every purchase of the Chevy Blazer. Chevrolet packaged the Blazer, so there's an option for everyone. Whatever it is that you want or need, you'll be able to find yours under the Blazer umbrella. So there are 3 versions. There's an LT, an RS, which is the Rally Sport, and then coming next year, we'll get an SS True Sport Edition. LT comes with a smaller battery, and it comes in all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive. It'll have about 288 horsepower and about 280 to 320 miles, depending on rear or all-wheel drive. The RS has a slightly larger battery. It has up to 340 horsepower, and it has a range of about 280 to 320 miles on a single charge. They both have pretty fast charging. You can charge it overnight at a level 2, or you can gain about 70 miles in about 10 minutes at a DC fast charger. Coming next year, though, will be the SS, which is the True Sport Edition. We're looking at 557 horsepower total with a boost mode. They call it WOW mode. And that will give you that instant acceleration when you want to do that on a safe road in a safe place where you're not going to cause yourself or anyone else any danger. We look forward to that because that is fun. Also, part of that packaging that Chevrolet puts into the Blazer EV are a lot of really great standard features. In fact, there's only a couple of options that you can add on. You can add on head-up display in the RS edition, you can add a sunroof for $1,500, and you can add some additional driver safety features. This is a really good collection of details. Come on, let me show you. So here is the key for the Blazer EV. It looks like pretty much any standard key. There is a smart key, so I can lock or unlock the Blazer by just pressing this button. And now let me show you what there is to see inside. It's pretty good. So this is a single panel glass here, and then it's got another panel here for the driver display. This is an 11-inch driver display here and a 17-inch multimedia screen there. I can tuck my key in right there. Let me show you around the screen. There is a volume dial here for the radio. There's actually an on-off screen there, on-off button there, so I can actually tap it twice to turn off the screen. So if I don't want the screen on, I can actually turn it off, or I can turn it back on. There are some hot buttons right here that I think are pretty important. So this is our one pedal driving. So I can turn that on or off. And then when I turn it on, I can actually set my level, and I have it set to high. And that gives me the most amount of energy return to the battery as I'm driving. And then I can also turn on or off my headlights. So notice that I have my headlights on here, but I can actually turn them on auto, or I can just turn on my fog lights, my daytime running lights there. So there is not a button other than this for the headlights. And then I can turn on or off the vehicle. There is not a start button, but there is an on or off. So if I really want to just turn this off and make sure that it's off at the end of the day, I can tap that. And then I can tap this to know that the car will stay on without shutting off for the next 60 minutes. So if I'm doing something like, say I'm sitting in the car watching my kid play soccer on that field over there, I can keep this on for up to an hour and it's not going to turn off. So I really like that feature. Other functions that we'll see here on the multimedia system, which is powered by Google. So vehicle status here, that's where I'm going to get my trip odometer. So if I want to set my trip odometer, I can see I drove 19 miles on my last trip. I used 2.2 kilowatt hours per mile. And On my other trip odometer, I had 703 miles on that. If I would like to have this displayed in my center, I can actually add that to the driver display, continue, and now I can see there's my trip odometer. So that's kind of a convenience feature. It does take a little learning to figure out all of these details. There is, our drive modes are here. So we do have normal, sport, snow and ice, and then customizable. So we can customize your drive mode. Here's my charging screen. And so this is where I can set up to charge now, charge later. I can set up my favorite charging points and navigate there. There's my routes if I want to create a route. And then I can actually set up a few things here too. And I can prep for fast charging, which if I'm going to go to, say I'm heading from here to a DC fast charger, I can tap that and then the battery will be primed and ready for charging when I get there. There are some controls here. So this is where I'm going to control my head-up display, lights, my windows, my camera. It can turn on or off. I love this camera. It's really nice and sharp. I can turn on or off the auto high beams, and I have park assist. So if I want to use park assist, automatic parking, I can do that. We talked about drive modes, climate, phone, maps. There's our map and vehicle settings here. So I can go into vehicle settings, and this is where I can turn on and set up a key fob for teen driver. If you're teaching a teen driver and you want to give them some extra help, you can do that. Rear seat reminder, buckle to drive. I like this feature because that means you can't put it in drive and drive away without buckling your seatbelt. Comfort and convenience. So this is where you can set the height for the rear lift gate. So there's a lot of features in here. Pretty much anything that you need to set up on the car, you're going to find there. And then we have some familiar things. There's Waze, there's Spotify, there's Amazon Alexa. I can set up the ambient lighting. Look at all the color choices I have in ambient lighting. I can even set it to drive mode, so I can have it, red for sport mode and blue for eco, or however I'd like to do that. And then I have Google Assistant. And then this is my Chevrolet app. So this connects to the app on the phone and will allow me to do a number of things on the app. So I can lock and unlock, I can remote start it, I can set the cabin temperature, I can find out if there's a code or some information that the car wants me to know. It'll tell me about that there, things like that, towing. So a lot of great things. And then this isn't set up, but I could set up my podcast, Google News. Oh, and here's my camera. So this is part of an option, is the 360-degree camera. And then if I have the trailering package, I can actually tap trailering and I can turn on or off the guidelines. There are the guidelines. And actually, there's also a haptic notification underneath the driver's seat that you get a little rumble in your seat if there's something close by and you see this is telling me there's a fence there, that I cannot see that out my rear view mirror. In fact, I cannot see that on my side view mirror, and I can't see that in my rear view mirror. So it's nice I can see it here in the camera, and it gave me a little rumble in the seat to let me know that it's there. So, but I know it's there. I'm not going to hit it, I promise. So let's see. And then I'm going to put it back in park. Once I put it in park, then all of that kind of goes away. Oh, and a Wi-Fi hotspot. So that's what you find on the multimedia screen. Now notice as I'm swiping through here, these things don't change. This is the climate control panel, and this is where you're going to find a lot of your climate control functions, heated seats, but there's also buttons here. And so these buttons actually allow you to turn it on or off, raise or lower the fan speed, and then I can turn this dial for cabin temperature. You will see a similar design in many of the other Chevrolet vehicles. So we'll see a very similar one in the Tahoe and the Suburban, and even in the Chevy Trax has a nice little system that is not very different than this. It's anchored on either end or bookended by these sort of turbine style air vents, which you'll also see here. Down here, there's actually a wireless charge pad right here for a phone. There's also another spot down there where you can put a phone. It's really deep. And then there's also a spot in here that has two USB charge ports there. There's a third USB charge port here, and there are some in the rear seat. So lots of places for everyone to plug in and recharge their devices while you're in the Chevy Blazer EV. So one of the things that I really love about the Chevy Blazer EV is this. Hey, Google. So it has Google Assistant. All you have to do is ask for what you want. It also has Waze. It has Spotify. You can use various other Google apps, Google News, podcasts, Amazon Alexa is on here. This is the digital rearview mirror. Check that out. So this is an option, but if you are going to fill the car with lots of people or lots of cargo, say you're moving a kid into a college dorm, you would appreciate this because no matter how full the car is, you can still have a full view of what's behind the car. I also like this because it is brighter at night than the reflective mirror. In fact, look how bright that is versus that view. So that view is not very bright at all, but this one is much brighter. So you really get a much better view with this digital rear view mirror than you do with a standard rear view mirror. So I'm going to show you a few other things. There are also radio controls here on the back of the steering wheel, and this is where you're going to control volume. And I love that they put these here because what they've done is they've cleared up space for this. You can use voice control like you really need it, heated steering wheel. This is how you're going to flip through and customize your driver information display. And then you can flip through and set your radio stations or whatever you like with this. So that's a really nice feature. And then the cruise control, and then double click this for adaptive cruise control. Once you put it in adaptive cruise control, it stays there. But if you want to go back into traditional cruise control, it's there. And then this is, they call it the gap adjust. And so you push this down like this to adjust the distance, the following distance between you and the car ahead of you. The Blazer EV is available in two different interior colors. So we do have this red and black, and then there is a black or dark gray color. It's comfortable, it's beautiful, and it's leatherette. I love that. I really love that they have moved away from leather into the leatherette. They call it Evotex. It has a really nice soft feel to it. It looks and feels like leather. And then ours is outfitted with these really beautiful Alcantara micro suede inserts here on the seat and even here on the headrest. That gives a really elegant and sporty feel to the interior of our RS edition. But here's maybe one of the most surprising and delightful elements of the Blazer EV. So the rear seat is actually quite large. The seats are fixed. They are not on a rail, but I want you to notice this floor is completely flat right here. There are some nice details back here. So we have two more additional USB ports. That makes for 5 total, plus the wireless charge pad. The interior is, again, this leatherette. It's really beautiful. If I didn't tell you this was leatherette, you probably wouldn't even know. There are 2 air vents here. We have the heated outboard seats here in this in the rear seat. Those are part of an option package that adds about $2,200 to the price of the car. I highly recommend it because that includes in the RS edition a head-up display, which is phenomenal and a great feature to have. I think everybody should have it. There are 2 full sets of latches here for child passenger car seats, and I like how this is this ISOFIX panel here. So you just pop this open, and if you have the car seats that slide and click that are rigid, they will slide in very easily. There's a cup holder here that folds out from the middle seat. The middle seat is really wide. I don't have my tape measure, but I'm going to say this is a nice 18-inch wide, maybe 19-inch wide rear seat. So if you need to fit 3 car seats across, they will fit. If you need to fit 2 rear-facing child passenger car seats, they will fit. So this is actually set for my driving position here. I don't know exactly how wide this is, but I'm going to peg it at about 35 inches, which is ample space for 2 rear-facing child passenger car seats. Part of the reason that we have more legroom in the Blazer EV is because the batteries extend underneath the floor of the car. And the space that those batteries take up give us 2 things. One is more rear seat legroom. The other is a higher ground clearance. So this is an SUV, which normally would have higher ground clearance, but that makes sense for a car like this because they need to put those batteries underneath. So you get to sit up a little bit higher. What else do we have back here for rear seat passengers? Beautiful trim details, this nice red door handle. There's a grip here, air vents here, which are critical if you're going to put child passengers back here, or teens, or really any passenger who sits back here would like to have an air vent. And then of course the seats fold almost flat, not quite. There is a sunroof option. Ours does not have the sunroof. It's a $1,500 option, and it is a dual panel. So you're going to see across over the front seat and probably partially, maybe even fully over the rear seat. It's not a panoramic, so it doesn't go all the way back, but it probably comes to about here. But I'm guessing because we don't have it in our test model. But all in all, I do like the rear seat space for anyone, even little ones in car seats. It's really great that Chevrolet is bringing the SS trim to the Blazer EV, and that is because SS is the Heritage Performance label for Chevrolet. So old Chevy muscle cars, even newer Chevy muscle cars, often carry an SS edition, and that is the one that has the sport tuning, it has the powerful engine, or it has more horsepower and more torque. So it really is designed for performance driving. If you're going to drive it through the mountains or on a track, SS is definitely the way to go. And it's nice to see that they have the confidence in the power and the suspension and the drive experience of the Chevy Blazer EV to add an SS edition. So we won't see that for a while. Right now, buyers will have a choice between rear-wheel drive and all-wheel drive. There's a front-wheel drive edition coming for those who really want that front-wheel drive capability, say occasional snow, maybe a little more challenging terrain, but you still want that good fuel economy. You don't want to use all your battery power powering those rear wheels. You'll be able to add a front wheel edition if that's the way that you'd like to go. So our drive today, I have to say, has been pretty darn good. We have been through the mountains and on the highways, up to the mountains, from the beach and back down to the beach. And the Chevy Blazer EV has been just lovely to drive. I have to say, 280 miles, so I've been driving this car, oh gosh, we probably drove about 200 miles or so. We've got 101 miles left. I've been using the regenerative braking mode. We've been using, I have it at the highest setting, so we definitely got some miles back, regained some of those miles on our drive today. And I really appreciate being able to do that, because if you live someplace where you're able to take advantage of gravity, of braking, of heavy traffic, you will actually be able to generate some extra miles and store those in the battery, so you don't have to worry about using up all of your battery on things that typically you might use up all of your gas, like accelerating around a curve, or braking, hitting the brakes around a curve. Normally the engine's still running, so it's still using gas. In a battery powered car, the motor's still running, but if you're not actively directing energy to the wheels, it's not going to use that energy. It will store anything it's generated back in the battery. Pretty brilliant, and I really like that is how this car functions. I really like that's how electric cars work, and the Blazer feels very solid. So I'm showing you a view of my driver information display here, because there's a few things I want you to see. First of all, we do have the speed limit displayed there. You can see these green lines. That shows that lane tracing assist, or lane keep assist, is active. So I only need to put on adaptive cruise control, and I'm able to use that, which is not hands-free, it's not Super Cruise, but it's pretty good. Over here on my display, I have the number of batteries left on my range. It is noting my navigation instructions, so it's taking into consideration maybe hills or other traffic or things like that that might impede my my time, maybe take a little longer, maybe use a little bit more of my battery charge. And I can actually press a button over here and I can scroll through different functions, different displays here on my driver display screen. So I really like that. It gives you, in what is not a super expensive car, you do get some really good top tier technology. But I want to show you this, and that is adaptive cruise. This is the way the adaptive cruise works in this Chevrolet is a little different than what you might be used to. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on adaptive cruise, and you can see that it's on right there. And then I'm going to set adaptive cruise. So I've set it to 72, and see this says cruise braking on. Now what I need to do is I need to tap this other button in order to get adaptive cruise on. So wait, let's do this. It's a little tricky, so I'm going to resume. Okay, so now to switch to regular cruise, I tap that other button. So now I am in adaptive cruise, and then I have a button over here that I can toggle up or down to, actually only down, to adjust the gap or the follow distance between me and the car ahead of me. So I like, you know that you have adaptive cruise if there's a sign, a signal, maybe a screen on the driver display that tells you that you have adaptive cruise, or if you have gap adjust, and that's this little button here on the steering wheel, and that is what tells you that yes indeed I do have adaptive cruise. I really love the adaptive cruise. I'm not sure why you want regular or adaptive. In my opinion, just use adaptive, get used to it, and then it really is more one pedal driving. You just accelerate if you need to pass, and then you take your foot off the accelerator and it goes back to the speed that you set. So you can set it at or about the speed limit, and then you can use the accelerator to speed up to pass someone if you need to, and then take your foot off the accelerator to go back to that set speed. That's how I prefer to use this system. Not everybody does, and clearly the engineers at Chevrolet decided that having both options, regular cruise control and adaptive cruise control, were the way that they were going to go with this system. Chevy's been working on the Blazer EV for quite some time now, and it shows. It is a solid driving electric SUV. It feels good on the road. It feels good in traffic. It even feels pretty good on twisty mountain roads. The interiors are quite beautiful. The standard features are top-notch and the best that Chevrolet has to offer right now. So with a price that starts at just under $57,000 for the LT, about $61,000 for the RS, add a few of those packages in, it comes in at about $64,000, $65,000, depending on what you've selected, with the federal tax incentive of up to $7,500, plus any state incentives. You're really looking at the $50,000 to $60,000 range for a lot of really great features in the car and under the hood in the Chevy Blazer EV.